Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. And on this supplemental episode of the Outlaw Mudcast, I want to talk about the things that General Manager Calace brought up during his address on the SR Universe Twitch channel Monday night. Before I get into that, some old business to take care of. On the previous episode, I talked about Dragon Con and that I did not have the results of the Sunday night constructed event. I have those results for the most part now. Let me go through them. There were 24 players in the constructed tournament. There were a number of rounds. I'm going to guess bullet rounds, possibly Swiss, but it's almost always bullet. And then they cut to a top 8. In the top 8, we had Practice Site playing as Michael Mosley versus Ron Rumble playing as Kenta. We had Titan playing as himself. Titan newly released at Dragon Con versus Math Guy as Hardic Kid. We had Crushing Star, a player I'm not too familiar with, as El Frenetico versus El Lama and Mascarada Senor as himself, and Lauren Santiago as herself versus Katie Andrews as the rookie version of Snake Pit. I think Katie Andrews is the wife of your guy, Christopher Andrews. I'm not 100% sure on that. The winners of that round were Ron Rumble, Math Guy, El Lama Sr., and Katie Andrews. Katie Andrews squared off against Lama Sr., Math Guy squared off against Ron Rumble. El Lama Sr. and Math Guy won, so they met in the finals. It was a steel cage match in the finals. And I would like to say that this was a great match, but it was one of the most lopsided matches I'd ever seen. El Lama Sr. won almost every turn roll in the match. By the time Math Guy won his second turn roll, it was crowd meter 2. Lama Sr. had hit all the finishes up to that point. Lama Sr. had drawn every card in his deck, and I think only had 4 or 5 cards in his hand. Now, Math Guy almost pulled off a miracle. Crowd meter 2, Math Guy wins the turn roll, rolling his highest skill, which triggered his gimmick. It allowed him to go grab his finish strike at crowd meter 2. Going from memory, his finish strike is also a lead. So he played a lead finish strike. Lama Sr. could not stop it. Math Guy rolled a 10. Lama Sr. rolls 10 for a second breakout roll. So he's able to break out, prevents the miracle comeback from the Math Guy. And then it's fairly even from then on out, but with El Lama Sr. only having to play 4 or 5 cards to win the steel cage match through the special finish by escaping the cage. Lama Sr. wins, I believe, crowd meter 3. Congratulations to Lama Sr. for winning the Dragon Con 2024 Championship Tournament. Now let's talk about Calace's special episode on Twitch. 2 main topics of discussion: Project Spider and Faction Wars. He started with Project Spider first. As a reminder, in the LFF, in the Legendary Fighting Federation, there are multiple singles championships. Competitors eligible for those championships are separated into divisions. There's a World Championship division, an Underworld Championship division, a United States Championship division, an Old School Championship division, a Global Championship division, a Hardcore Championship division, and an Intergalactic Championship division. The World Championship division consists of roughly 32 competitors, although there is some duplication. Competitors that have the same name that are in the same division are considered to take up only 1 spot in that division. And then there are 64 competitors in the Underworld division, meaning that the World and Underworld make up effectively the top 96 competitors in Super Show the game. During the Project Spider portion, General Manager Calace was joined by 4 members of the Project Spider committee: John Polverino, Bob Dunn, Johnny Correa, and TVA Commissioner Drew Madsen. They talked about changes they'd made to the divisions and some of the reasoning behind those changes. Let me talk about some of those changes now in no particular order. First, there's only been one singles competitor that's ever been outright booked completely in singles. Most of the time, if a competitor is deemed to be too powerful in singles, there will be an errata to his gimmick. They'll call that 20/20 vision. They might promote that competitor to the Tornado Tag Team division. That happened with the Immortal Warrior and Vic the Brick. They became the Immortal Brick Brothers. Only one competitor up to this point had been absolutely banned from the game, and that was Grim. Grim was a competitor whose gimmick was, at the start of the match, they could choose another competitor and they would get that competitor's gimmick. Because there are hundreds of competitors in the game, there were hundreds back when the Grim decision was made, they decided that it's too difficult to, when creating a gimmick, balance it against Grim, and so it just became too unwieldy to have Grim in the game. That's why he was permanently booked. The Mark Jeff Bravo is a competitor whose gimmick is they can use 2 finishes with another competitor's logo on it. With the high number of competitors now, and the high number of powerful finishes those competitors have, and the wide variety that could be given to the Mark Jeff Bravo, they've made a similar decision. It's just too much to have him in the game. It's too powerful with that degree of variety you can do, so he is now permanently booked. They did also mention that one of the reasons they permanently booked him is because of who created that competitor. I am not a fan of that at all. I think that's a dangerous precedent to set, that competitors should be banned because of who created them, that they should be permanently booked because of who created them. I don't like that as an option for the game. I know why this has happened. I know that there were a number of issues between the creator of the Mark Jeff Bravo and SRG Universe, and that's part of that. But I think that's just a bad precedent to set, to say, we're going to ban a competitor because we don't like the guy who created it. Not a fan of that at all. Another change that was made has to do with the number of divisions. When I mentioned the current singles division, I didn't mention the Triad division. The reason for that is that the Triad division has been dissolved. It is no more. The LFF Triad Championship still exists, but there's no longer a division to go with it. It's going to be up to the general manager of the Triad Championship to figure out who will get shots at that belt, but it's no longer its own division with singles competitors that can only go for that Triad Championship as long as they're in the division. I think this is a fine change. I have no problem with it. There's been a change to the World Division. Previously, there were competitors who could get shots at the World Championship that did not have to be in the World Division. Now, competitors that have earned shots at the World Heavyweight Championship will become part of the World Championship division. So, for example, Johnny Gargano, the Enforcer used Johnny Gargano to win the Gen Con World Championship Tournament. He gets a shot with Johnny Gargano at that belt. Johnny Gargano is now part of the World Championship division. John Polverino won the Grand Battle with rookie El Super Hombre at the last Grand Gathering. So, rookie El Super Hombre is now part of the World Championship division. The competitor that holds the World Championship is also now in the World Championship division. So Yasmin's the current champion with Runtime Terror. Runtime Terror is in the World Championship division. There have been a number of promotions and demotions to the World Championship Division and the Underworld Championship Division. I'll go through those in a moment. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about that's related to rookie El Superhombre going into the World Championship Division. It's been decided that because we have El Superhombre, the original, Snake Pit, the original, El Superhombre, the rookie version, in the World Championship Division, and because other versions of El Superhombre and Snake Pit have proven to be good. Rookie Snake Pit, the 10th anniversary El Superhombre, the 10th anniversary Snake Pit, even the not yet released Super Lucha versions of those competitors have done well in local tournaments in New York. They've decided every version of El Superhombre and every version of Snake Pit will be in the World Championship Division. I do not like this one bit. There are a lot of reasons for this. Number one, putting every version of these competitors in the World Championship Division limits the ability of them to be played. The World Championship Division is the most restrictive when it comes to tournaments. It's booked in almost every creative competitor tournament. In pretty much every creative competitor tournament that's come out, that's going to come out, you can't play World Championship Division competitors. When they do weekly online tournaments, most of the tournaments are not open division. There are some which allow you to use World Championship Division competitors, but most are not open. Most are Underworld or some other division. Second, El Superhombre and Snake Pit are the main characters of Super Show the Game. As such, in my opinion, they should always have a presence in Super Show. Booking them in the World Championship Division diminishes that presence. Third, when you have all of those competitors in the same division, in my opinion, it discourages people from playing any version but the best version. So, if you have to choose one of 4 Snake Pits to play, when you're going to play in a World Division event, you're going to play the best. Same thing with El Superhombre, which for most people, those are the original versions. So it means the rookie versions won't see as much play, the 10th anniversary versions, and presumably the Super Lucha when they come out. Although this could change because, and I'll jump ahead here, the current divisions are locked in until December of 2024, probably after PAX Unplugged, but before like Christmas. So early to mid December 2024, there'll be an update to this Project Spider divisions. The final reason I have a problem with this booking specifically revolves around the 10th anniversary versions of El Superhombre and Snake Pit. The 10th anniversary box set was released August 1st, 2024. The Project Spider update booking them was September 2nd. That's 33 days. 33 days to me is not enough time to determine that El Superhombre 10th anniversary and Snake Pit 10th anniversary should be booked in the most restrictive division. On top of that, the El Superhombre versus Snake Pit Super Show the Game 10th anniversary box set is the current starter set for Super Show the Game. Players who are going to be playing Super Show the Game for the first time, who are going to get a demo at a convention or a store, they're going to be told, buy this, it has everything you need for 4 players, it has the new rulebook, it'll be this way through, I would say, PAX Unplugged. To tell players buying a starter set that half of the competitors in the starter set are restricted is, in my opinion, completely unfriendly to new players. starter set competitors ought to be the freest to play. You ought to be able to play a starter set competitor in any singles format in Super Show the game. The idea that half of the starter set competitors are now going to be restricted to World Division only, that makes no sense. That is not friendly to new players. If I was going to play a new game I'd never played before, and I went out and bought a starter set, and I show up with my starter set to play at, say I buy a Commander deck and show up to play Magic the Gathering Commander, or I buy the Universus starter and show up at a UVS event, and I sit down to play my starter set, and I'm told, sorry, you can't play that. That's restricted. I might just walk away from the game altogether. To me, this is a terrible decision. Now, maybe this isn't something the Spiders take into account when they make their decisions, but to me, the idea that a brand new starter set comes out and we're going to prevent players from being able to use their starter set competitors broadly in Super Show is a huge mistake. So I absolutely disagree with the Spiders' decision to restrict the 10th anniversary El Super Hombre and 10th anniversary Snake Pit. I think that's bad for growing the game to tell new players that their starter set competitors aren't legal in most singles formats. Somebody buys this box set, they go to FreeCon. You can't play El Super Hombre and Snake Pit out of the 10th anniversary box set at FreeCon. It's booked. You go to Misomania 2. You learn about the game. You're able to get into Misomania 2. I know it's sold out, but hypothetically you can play. You show up. You can't play your El Super Hombre. You can't play your Snake Pit. They're booked. I think that's a huge mistake. I don't agree with it. And I don't really have anything else to add right now. I've said my piece. Here are the competitors that are going into the World Division. Heartache Kid. Heartache Kid is going into the World Division. The old school version of Cyclone is going back to the World Division. It had been in the World. It was demoted. It's going back to the World. I talked about Runtime Terror and Johnny Gargano. Slime Girl is also going to the World Division because Chris Tapley won a birdcage match with Slime Girl, and he received a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship for winning. So Slime Girl, because of that future shot at the championship, is now in the World Division. The Grump played a match against the World Champion at Gen Con, won the match via disqualification. So the Grump, because of the victory using the Grump competitor is now in the World Championship division. There was some discussion about Braunsberg going into the World Championship division. Braunsberg has done well in sealed formats since it came out, but all of those successes that Braunsberg has had have been limited to sealed formats. Braunsberg has not done well, unlike a Heartache Kid who made the finals of Dragon Con. Braunsberg doesn't have a resume like that. So Braunsberg currently not part of the World Championship promotions, but it is being looked at. Because those competitors went into the World Championship division, the Memes Dealer, King Greatness, Zack Sabre Jr., Numero Uno, Gia de los Muertos, and the Rising Sun have dropped out of the World Championship division to the Underworld division. We've also had getting promoted to the Underworld division Ring Admiral Grumpy Thunder, Deathmatch King Matt Cardona, the new version of Uncle Awesome, Merlin Von Berlin, Mimic, Kota Ibushi, the Phil Birch, and the original version of Overdog. They now join the Underworld division. With those additions to the Underworld division, the Masked Llama, Citizen X, Gold Standard, Original Matt Cardona, Pluto, Pretzel Wizard, The Executioner, Mastermind, and Catty Kitty have been removed from the Underworld division and split off into the various divisions. The current division list is on the SRG Super Show discussion group on Facebook. To get a more detailed look, I'd suggest going there. I'm not going to go through who is in every division. Those are the big moves coming out of Project Spider. Now, in relation to this, the general manager for the Underworld division has decided that the players most responsible for seeing competitors promoted to the Underworld division, those people will get shots in matches where if they win that match, it could lead to a future shot for the Underworld Championship. So Bob Dunn has set up the following matches. These matches must be streamed. It's up to the people in the matches to work out the streaming schedule, who's going to stream it, where it's going to be streamed. But here are the following matches where the winners could potentially get shots at the Underworld Championship. Simple Chuck, using Ring Admiral Grumpy Thunder, must face the Grump, playing as Deathmatch King Matt Cardona. Whoever wins this match gets a future shot at the Underworld Championship. Zach Atchley, using the new version of Uncle Awesome, will play the LFF Chiropractor using Kota Ibushi. The winner of that match gets a shot at the Underworld Championship. TVA Commissioner Drew Madsen, playing as Mimic, will face Possum Kang, playing as Witch Hunter General. The winner will get a future shot at the Underworld Championship. And Piglet, using Merlin Von Berlin, will play the Phil Birch, using his own competitor, the Phil Birch. The winner gets a future shot at the LFF Underworld Championship. Practice Sites would have earned a shot with Overdog, but Practice Site is the current LFF Underworld Championship, so he will not be able to play in a match to get a future shot at the Underworld Championship. Bob Dunn, the LFF General Manager for the Underworld Division, has also announced a Second Chances tournament. 8 players in the tournament. The winner will get a shot at the LFF Underworld Championship. These 8 players must pick one of the 9 competitors that is moving into the Underworld Division this time. Those competitors in match order, from what I understand, are Matt Haas versus Harvey Luster, the New York Phenom versus Johnny Eldorado, General Lee Wong versus Hold the Line Harry, and Matty Bar 1 versus Swaggy D. Those are the competitors and the first matchups. They will have to pick one of the new 9 Underworld Division competitors. That's all I have on that for now, and that concludes the Project Spider portion of the Calace Monday Night Address. Before I get into the Faction Wars portion, a couple of bits of news. The Rising Stars tournament, we will see the group stage posts soon, so be on the lookout for that. The deck lists are fixed for the group stage portion of the Rising Stars tournament, but players can consult with their coaches about each matchup they're going to be involved in. There's also going to be a number of new competitors coming out in Grand Packs. These are new versions of previous competitors. These were put on sale Monday night at a very good price. Those have all sold out. So I'm not going to go through the details of what was involved with that because it's not possible currently for anyone to take advantage of it. Faction Wars 6. This year, you're going to have a team of 7 people in Faction Wars. That's the captain plus 6 additional players. You will also have the option to have a bench player, a reserve player. If someone on your team cannot play, you can bring in the bench player. However, once you do that, the bench player permanently takes over the replaced player's spot as long as you remain in the Faction Wars 6 tournament. Teams have until September 15th to email John Calace. The captain's going to be the one sending the email. Email John Calace at srguniverse.com, who is on the team. Let him know that you're the captain and the 6 members of your team. You don't have to tell them who your bench player is. That can wait. You just need to tell them the captain and the 6 main players. The Faction Wars draft will take place September 22nd. That's going to be a Sunday, likely streamed on twitch.tv/srguniverse, likely at 8 p.m. Eastern, although that's all subject to change. Each team will be drafting 7 singles competitors, 1 tornado tag team competitor, and 1 trios competitor. 9 rounds total. They must draft 1 competitor from the World Division, the Underworld Division, the United States Division, the Intergalactic Division, the Hardcore Division, the Global Division, and the Old School Division. In years past, drafting was based on things like the printed 10 skill. That's not happening in Faction Wars 6. It's just 1 competitor per division, plus a tornado tag team, plus a trio. Each player on the team, the captain and the other 6, will play a singles competitor. 2 other people on the team will, in addition to their singles competitor, play the tornado tag team or the trio. In each round of Faction Wars, no player on the team may play more than 2 matches. This means if a round has a premier player match, if a round has a tag team, the people on that tag team, the people in the premier player match, cannot be the tornado tag team player or the trio player. Those players cannot be involved in those types of matches. Additionally, we've been told that there will be multiple tag team matches through Faction Wars 6. The tag teams, if possible, should be T50 compliant. That means that only 1 player on the tag team can have a competitor that is on the T50 list. That's a maximum of 1 player. Same thing with the entrance cards or the finishes or other cards that are on the T50 list. Teams must be T50 compliant if possible. If for some reason the way a team is made up, a tag team is made up due to things like premier player matches, tornado tags, and trios, they can't be T50 compliant, there will be a penalty. If you are not T50 compliant, you cannot use entrance cards and you cannot use spectacles in the tag team match. That's very important to note. That is a new change. Entrance cards. Each player on the team will be able to use 1 entrance card. Entrance cards cannot be duplicated between team members. So if 1 player on the team is using Champion of Kickstarter, no other player can. Now, players are able to change their entrance card. So for example, if 1 player in the first round plays Champion of Kickstarter, in the second round, if he decides he wants to play Juggler's Paradise, he can do that. Now, once that switch is made, you cannot switch back, and no other player on your team can switch to that card. If 1 player stops using Champion of Kickstarter, another team member can't pick up Champion of Kickstarter. It's dead for the whole team. Any questions that a team might have must be submitted to General Manager Calace through the team captain. Other team members cannot ask questions of General Manager Calace. That is limited to the team captain only. One last thing they brought up, there's going to be a Super Lucha division. It's been determined that John Polverino will get to be in the inaugural championship match for the Super Lucha Championship. This is because of how his team performed in Faction Wars 5, because Just Business won Faction Wars 5. That is all I have for this supplemental episode of the Outlaw Mudcast. I would like to thank all of you for listening, and good day.